Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is great to have you all here. Welcome to Cedarville, parents. This is especially for you parents. So my name is Jeff Beste, and I actually work here at Cedarville. I'm the Director of Development, but part of the responsibilities that I have in my role is to oversee our Parents Leadership Council. And so I have some of our Parents Leadership Council with me today. Like I said, I work here at Cedarville. I live in Cedarville. And so it's really hard for me to talk about parenting from a distance. However, I will even say, we talked about it last night. Even though I am just across the street from the university, when we sent our kids off, it was different. Even though they were just less than a mile away, they weren't home at night. And so we really had to adjust and learn some things. And so that's what we really want to share with you today is how can you still parent in a role that is much different than you've had recently. And so I've asked these people to join us. I will let them introduce themselves, but they're going to share some things. And then we will give you an opportunity to ask some questions. So when we wrap up here, you can see there are some microphones here in the aisle. When we're finished, you feel free to just step out and ask questions. But then also, afterwards, all of us will be down here in the front if you want to talk to us individually. But also, if you can find any of our Parents Leadership Council, they're all the ones that are wearing these bright blue shirts. There's many of them out in the hallway. Just find them. We would be happy to sit and talk with you and tell you about our experience as parents and how we were able to parent differently than we did for their first 18 years. So I will turn it over to Jason.
Yeah. Jeff, thank you so much. And Jeff, we want to show your picture really quick up here too. Do you want to say something about that?
So,
that's pretty special.
So this was my youngest daughter, who is a senior. She's the one with the wedding gown on, and it's the rest of my family. So our three daughters were graduates. Two are graduates of Cedarville, and then our one daughter is a senior this year. Now, I will tell you all this. There's one thing, it was kind of a rule we had. Hey, you can't get married while you're a college student. You can't get married while you're a college student. And then suddenly our baby comes along and everything changes. So she got married after her junior year, and that's my family. In fact, everybody on the screen are Cedarville graduates. My wife, my two son-in-laws, and then my daughter will be graduating this coming May. So that's the Beste family. And again, I work here. I'm starting my 38th year on staff at Cedarville. And what a treat it is for us to be here. And every year I look forward to this time of year because we just love our new students. And I'm excited. Hopefully I will get to know many of your kids during their time here.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, before we introduce ourselves, I want to do a little bit of a roll call for those of us that are in the room. And I'm wondering if you will stand up if this is your first child to college. First one. That's a lot. All right, you can be seated. Thank you so much for entrusting them to Cedarville. And as a parent who dropped off a daughter at Cedarville several years ago, I can feel some of the emotion that I literally felt wafting towards me. So we know how that feels. How many of you, this is your last child to college? Would you stand up real quick? Your last one? You are almost there. They're almost off the payroll. All right, that's great. And then how many of you, is your very first time to Cedarville? You've never been on campus before, but you are bringing your child. Anybody? Awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much for being here. And then how many of you are alumni parents? So you graduated from Cedarville. Would you stand up if you graduated from Cedarville and now your kids are here? Awesome. Congratulations. A couple statistics that we wanted to share with you that I just think are really interesting. 57 countries are represented by Cedarville students for this class. 57 countries. 49 states are represented at Cedarville for this year's, all of our students combined. 35% of our freshman class are from the great state of Ohio. And the furthest country represented by one of our Cedarville students is Australia. And then our, for the state would be Hawaii. I don't know for sure, but I think Alaska is the only state not represented. I'm not positive. There are people from Alaska, okay. It's probably South Dakota. I don't know. It's one of those. Anyway, we are so glad to represent 49 states this year. So with that said, we are just so excited to be able to share some of the things that the Lord has placed on our hearts to be able to share with you and kind of echo what Jeff said today. But we do want to introduce ourselves and give you a little bit of background about what has brought us to this stage today. So let me start over here with the Holtz.
Good afternoon. I am Bruce. This is my wife, Carrie. We have 4 kids. Our 2 oldest will be on campus here. Our oldest son will be a senior, finance major, and then our middle son will be a sophomore studying information systems and IT management, I believe, at the moment. And we are not too far from here, just up the road in a suburb of Columbus, Lewis Center, Ohio, so about an hour 15 away.
Awesome.
I'm Emily, and this is Jim. We are from Springfield, Illinois, so about 5 hours away. We have 2 students on campus. Our daughter is doing her 6th year. She's getting her master's in divinity to do women's ministries or to teach. And we have a son who's doing his 4th year in civil engineering. And we have one at home, a senior, who really hopes to be here next year.
Hi, everybody. My name is Courtney. This is my husband, Jason, and we are the Atwell family. This picture shows some of our big events from the summer. We had 2 graduations in May and a wedding in June. So the wedding picture is of our daughter, Kylie, and her husband, Zach, and they both graduated from Cedarville just this past May. And then you can see their graduation picture there. The lower corner is our son, our second born, and he is an incoming freshman at Cedarville this year. So we're in the same boat with a lot of you, dropping off a freshman, and again, we can understand all those emotions, and I thought maybe the second time around would be easier, but it turns out it's really not that much easier. So anyway, we love Cedarville. Jason and I actually both graduated from Cedarville as well, and we loved it so much that we actually stayed on as staff members for 6 years. So we were here in the town of Cedarville for about 10 years. It has become part of the fabric of our family. We love it dearly. And we are from Colorado, so it's a pretty good distance, and just feel so comfortable sending our kiddos here. We know they're well taken care of, and they've loved it. So Cedarville's made a huge impact on our family, and just take the opportunity to reassure all of you what a wonderful decision you've made in sending your children here, and it's a great place to be. So we are going to talk today about parenting from a distance, and we do this by using an analogy of football. And I don't know if all of you are football fans out there, but our family is into football, and Jason and I are Broncos fans, which isn't really something to brag about right now. But we have 2 boys who are, one is a hardcore Chiefs fan, and the other one is Eagles. So, for those of you who are into football, you know they have been in the Super Bowl together 2 times over the last few years. So we are a house divided, and we try to remain neutral. We bring in Kansas City barbecue and Philly cheesesteaks for the Super Bowl, and watch our boys duke it out. But there's just this whole culture around football, the food, the merch, even the music. And so we all know, though, that football takes a lot of roles to have a good team. There's the players, of course. Our kids are the players. They're the ones on the field. But there are many other parts to play to make a successful football program. So we're going to kind of talk about our role today in this parenting from a distance, and we're going to start off with Bruce. He's going to talk about coach.
And as a coach, there's 4 points. One, that you need to be steady and reassuring. And as a longtime Cowboys fan, I first think of Tom Landry with that hat. And for those of you not old enough, Google it or ask chat and they can tell you all about Tom Landry. So yes, be steady and reassuring. So early on, a lot of the new normal that your student is going to experience is going to feel like, oh no, this is only happening to me. I'm the only one missing home. I'm the only one having a roommate problem. Now, of course, we know that that isn't the case, but we want to be careful as we communicate that to them. You want to be reassuring that yes, this is new to you and this is a new situation, but there are plenty of other people on campus that are dealing with some of these other new and not kind of perfect scenarios that they're walking through. So to the extent that you can use some of those parental phrases that you used as they were going through tough times growing up, which for dads out there, you don't want to use the suck it up, you'll be fine. That it probably isn't your go-to. Maybe next semester, but not this one. So yeah, just know that they're going to need you to be that steady and reassuring impact in their life, especially here these first few days, weeks, and maybe even this whole first semester. Number 2, be patient and flexible. So if you don't hear from your student every day, it's all right. If you don't hear from them for this whole first week, it's going to be okay. In fact, I would recommend, if at all possible, let them be the one that reaches out to you, whether it's a phone call or a text. It might be agonizing by the time you get to day 3 or 4. I can remember the first time I got a text from my oldest when he came middle of the day at work, and I hadn't been more excited since I got an instant message from her way back when we were dating, to get something in the middle of the day that was just like 4 or 5 words. So, give them the freedom to be the one to initiate that contact, if at all possible. It shows that you trust them, that they've got this, right? You don't want to inadvertently make them think that you're not certain that they're ready for this because you're constantly checking in, how are you doing, that sort of thing. So do your best to be patient and flexible. You'll also have to figure out when you can make contact. For us, we have learned that Sunday afternoons are a great time to just have kind of a dedicated time for us to have more than just a quick text or a call. But if they do, when they do reach out, do your best to prioritize listening to them. It can be very easy to want to go down all these things that are in your mind, or how's this and how's that, and it can feel like an interrogation, right? And you just want to be there to listen, because they may say something that to you seems like a nothing, but for whatever reason, they brought it up. So it's important to them. So really prioritize whatever is on their mind and whatever they want to talk about. The third thing is coaches coach and players play. Seems self-evident, but in the heat of the moment, it can be easy to forget that, and we can want to fall back into, well, let's just take care of that for them. But as parents, this is something we got to work on and be prepared for. We can't contact their advisor. We can't meet with them and tell them that they need to drop this or pick up this class, or you just need to have a good conversation with your roommate and you'll be able to figure this out. We can't jump in there. While you can't expect them to know how to do everything, they do need to be the ones doing it. Okay? So that might be, oops, and I didn't even tell you this, like 2 weeks ago when one of our two said, oops, I didn't forward the tuition bill and it's due tomorrow. Can you wire the money? I said, well, it's possible, but no, I'm not going to wire the money. I told you that if you don't tell me and it's late, you pick up the difference. So he had to call back and forth. Anyway, found out there's a grace period. We were fine, but I think it was a good lesson for him to have a little fear that he might have to come out of pocket for a few bucks. So, give them that opportunity to grow. They need to build these life skills. These are critical. And Cedarville is a great, safe place for your student to start building these life skills. Lastly, you want to be available if a timeout is needed. You've worked at least weeks, if not months, in trying to set things up for your student to have success. It will probably be fine. There are certain to be little things here or there, but the vast majority of the students that come on are not going to have any kind of calamity or big problem right off the bat. But just like in football, there are times where the team needs to regroup and they need to hear from their coach. So there will be some times, and again, whether it's in the first few weeks or it might be next year, that maybe they need a little more counsel from you. And just like the coach doesn't try to yell out big changes right in the middle of a play, you don't want to call on Wednesday, 10 minutes before class, and try to have this big, heavy conversation, right? Pick your spots. So if you need to schedule a time in the evening or on the weekends, or if it's a bigger, more significant item, it might be something that's better had over fall break or over Thanksgiving, where you can really process and pray through things. So just be prepared. There may be times that they need a timeout, and that isn't when they're in the middle of classes and exams and homework, but it's when a time they have maybe where they can step out of that. There's always a situation where maybe something needs immediate attention, but those tend to be pretty rare. So in closing, 4 things, parenting as a coach: be steady, reassuring, patient and flexible, coaches coach, players play, and then of course be available for timeouts.
All right, I'm going to talk about the cheerleader, which we have been doing the entire lives of our kids when they first learned to walk. In our case, with one of our kids, when he learned to wheel a chair, and there are several students on campus who are in the same boat. But that doesn't change. The role of a cheerleader is, whether your child was in sports, fine arts, music, 4-H, whatever they have done at home, you're going to continue to do that. And there's 3 ways that you can be a cheerleader. The first one is to encourage the crowd back at home where you're from. Maybe there's a youth pastor, people who've had relationships with your student, your family, extended family, that you can give them updates, you can share prayer requests, ways to pray for your student. So get them involved. Let them know when they're going to be home from school or when a break is, and encourage the crowd around them to also reach out and be an encouragement to your student while they're here. The second thing is that cheerleaders encourage the players in creative ways. When I was in high school, I remember the cheerleaders putting things on our lockers for the football players, and if you played other sports, they may have done that too. And so there are a lot of creative ways that you can encourage your student while they're here. One of those ways would be just to send them a note in the mail. I mean, I know we have all this technology and everything, but getting a note in the mailbox can still mean a lot. But make sure you let your student know that it's coming, because they do get an email if they get a package. They don't get an email if their mailbox has something in it, and it might sit there for a really long time. So make sure you let them know that. If you're a part of the CU Parent Facebook page, and even if you're not, it's a great place to get information. There's always advertisements on there from different companies in the area that send study boxes of fun food, cupcakes, cookies. If you don't want to send that through the mail, there's local businesses that will do that for you, help them celebrate a birthday and things like that. So you can definitely encourage the crowd and encourage your player in creative ways. And then lastly, sometimes we have to encourage our player one-on-one. I know for the 2 of us, I'm usually the one who I have more contact with our sons a little bit more than he does sometimes. And I know for me personally, something I just started last year was at least once a week, maybe not always every week, but I would just text our sons and say, hey, how can I pray for you this week? Or how can I pray for you this month? And they would share that with me. So sometimes your student's going to need that encouragement one-on-one. So just be willing to be there, kind of like Bruce said. And sometimes it might be that as the dad, you need to tell your student, call your mom, because she needs to hear from you, depending on who the primary contact is in the family with the student who's here. So as a cheerleader, you can encourage the crowd. Make sure you update the people that have been a part of your students' lives thus far, and encourage them in creative ways and encourage them one-on-one.
So I'm going to talk to you about being a good fan. We all need fans cheering us on in the stands. And I can remember not too long ago, it seems like just moments ago, my little ones in a parking lot, right? Picture that little kid. And I can remember holding that hand really tightly. Do you remember that? And then as they get a little older, the grip loosens a little bit because you trust them a little bit more. And eventually they're not holding your hand, but they're still walking right beside you. And gradually they're moving away just a little bit. And today, your child is let loose, right? And they're separating themselves a little bit from you. And that can be very difficult. But the truth is that they've always been the Lord's. He's always had them. Even though you had a firm grip on them in that parking lot, the Lord has always had your child. And it's the same today. The Lord still has your child. He's got a firm grip on them, on their life, on their heart. And that's really what we're counting on and trusting in as a parent. So as we think about parenting as a fan, the fan experiences the highs and lows with the player. You're going to have opportunity to allow them to grow as an adult and become an individual. And that's beautiful to watch. It's also sometimes very difficult to watch. God's got them. God's going to be faithful to them. God's going to remain with them. Encourage your kids with that, right? That you are their parent, but the Lord is faithful and always has been. He's got it all. The second thing we want to talk about is as we watch from the stand as fans. For many of you coming onto campus today, you heard, "Welcome home, welcome home." And I can imagine for some of you, as it was for us many years ago, 6 years ago, that was a very odd phrase because this is not their home. Did you feel like that at all? We can remember that. But gradually, month after month, week after week, Cedarville very much becomes home to our students. And actually coming home on spring break and summer break is difficult because this is very much their home. I can remember my son even last night said, "Well, it's good to be home." And that's hard, but it's real, right? This is where they live. This is their people. This is their world. So that's normal. Watching them from the stand, it's going to feel like it's just different for you. The players, though, need to be on the field. It's good for them to be here. And you are not on the field. You are in the stands. And because you're in the stands, they need you to encourage them. They need you to cheer them on, to help them to work hard, to pray for them. But this is their college experience. This isn't your college experience. It's theirs. And so when it's hard and when they're growing and when they're going through difficult times, it's really hard not to try to fix it for them. Allow them to deal with their schedules. Allow them to talk to their professors. Allow them to make appointments, even doctor appointments, picking up their own prescriptions, all those things. Allow them to start doing some of those things. It will feel abnormal, but it is good, right? It's okay to let them fix their own tire, right? It's okay. Let them figure that out. I would encourage you to schedule times with them to talk when it's convenient to them. Our kids love FaceTime sometimes. We'll get calls as they're walking from their dorm to a class sometimes and just want to chat real quick, usually with mom. Sometimes your kids won't answer their phone. Sometimes your kids won't answer a text. In my world, that's good because that means they're okay, right? Sometimes if I don't hear from especially my son, that's good. He's doing fine, right? And so it's okay to let them have some of that space. The third thing we want to remember as fans is that as a fan, we're going to study the team and we also know the stats. One of the ways we can know what's happening on campus is to be involved at home through chapel. Some of you may know this. There's a Cedarville University chapel app. You can get that on your phone. It's great to watch chapel. It's very encouraging. It will bless your life and your heart. It's at 10 o'clock Ohio time, Eastern, so we're from Central, so you got to get that straight. But it's great. If sometimes the app doesn't work like I'd like it to, so it's also available on YouTube. The live stream is really helpful. Facebook also has the chapel stream on there. So that's a great thing, great way for you to be involved in their lives and know what's going on campus, even if they're not telling you, okay? Encourage your student to get to know their professors. At Cedarville, your student is not just a number. They will know their professors. You will hear them talk about their professors in a very close way. They may go to lunch with their professor. They may end up over at the house of a professor. Those are very normal things on this campus, so encourage that. Get to know the RA, the RD. Those are special people in their lives. These people are here for your student, and also I would encourage you, remind your students that there are study helps for them if they need that. If they're struggling a little bit in their class, they don't have to be behind. There are study helps on campus. Encourage them to find tutors. There's a place called the Cove. There's all sorts of ways for them to get some study helps if they need that. A couple tips for your students. Last thing before I say that, remember to pray for your students. I know you will. But pray for them. That's the most we can do is pray for our kids. A couple tips for you just real quick. I would encourage you to talk to your student about leaving their doors open for these first few weeks of school in their dorms. That creates a welcome environment for other people to say hi and they get to know each other. If you close your door, you're kind of closing off the world. So we invested in a doorstop. That's probably one of the best investments we made with bringing our kids here. Keep the doors open. I would also encourage you to have them get other students' phone numbers and especially in their classes, have someone that they can text if they don't understand an assignment or something. That's helpful. For me, I remember as a kid, it was always good to know, who am I going to get breakfast with? Who might I sit with at lunch? If they can be organize some of that throughout these first few days, that's really helpful. So I would encourage you to talk to them about that. No one in this freshman class, I guess I can't say no one, but most of these kids don't know anybody. As it was mentioned before, your student's going to feel alone, like they feel like they're the only ones that don't know anybody. They all don't know anybody. So if they'll reach out and make themselves vulnerable and ask people to, hey, you want to get lunch or breakfast, that can go a long way. So.
Well, we want to come to you and hear some of the questions that you have. And we have a microphone in both of these aisles if you want to come and ask a question. So this is your 30-second warning. I thought just to get you a little warmed up, just two things that I would share. One of the cultural norms at Cedarville is that Cedarville treats our incoming freshmen, they can treat them one of two ways. They can treat them as their last time as a kid or their first time as an adult. And I remember as a student here feeling so empowered and feeling so helped by Cedarville to know that I wasn't treated like a kid for the last time, but I was treated like an adult for the first time. And that was a meaningful part of the culture here. And then one other thing I would just share is that we look at Cedarville and we want you to imagine it the same way as a greenhouse, a place where they're just gonna grow in a great, great environment where they're fed by the word, they are encouraged by their friends, by their professors, by the faculty and staff here. It's a greenhouse. It's a time for them to really grow. And so as you've heard these different roles that you can have as a parent, we long for our own children. We long for your children as well to be able to be an adult for the first time, but to grow in such a rich, unbelievable environment as Cedarville University is. So was that long enough? Did somebody have a question? You can come on down and ask a question if you have one. And we actually have a couple questions that we've prepared, just that we've heard often from families too. If you don't have one, we can kind of get us started too. But don't be shy. Come on up and ask a question if you have one. Yep, go ahead.
All right, so I'm going to break the ice. My name is Nick. Our daughter is a freshman. And I appreciate all the advice on what we should do for our kids or not do. But here's my question. Most of us parents, we've probably run the same lives. Our kids wake up, they have breakfast. A few hours later, they have lunch. Then they have dinner. So pulling away from being there and providing, how did you support each other when one was about to fall off the edge and go solve that problem, and the other one comes in and says, well, this is their life now. They have to do it. How did you support each other in that environment?
You got to pray about that one. And personally, I have learned that if we're at odds about something, it means that she's probably more right than I am. Now, not always. Sometimes, eventually, we find some balance that's more toward my original position. But in reality, nobody knows the kids, your students, the way you do. Obviously, you've been mom and dad, and you've had some differing views at every phase of their life. And this is just a new phase. And so they've got to adjust to some things. You've got to adjust to some things. So I am not going to dare tell you which one of you is right. I think you got to pray about that one, and then just ask the Lord for wisdom, and just know that this is a great environment. It really is. Their RAs are going to be right there on the front line. And I'm just remembering that one thing I thought of was I learned after just a few weeks that one of my son said he never went to breakfast. What do you mean you never go to breakfast? But I just had to button it up, right? I mean, he was getting his calories, and the grades were fine, and he seemed to be okay. He was just doing things a little different than the way Dad did it.
I was just going to say maybe a practical thing as far as between husband and wife. This is a rule that we try to remember, in all these things. Pause. Take a moment before you react. Take a moment before you do anything. Pause together, pause individually, and pray. One thing my husband is really awesome at, he talks a lot about rules of engagement, meaning you have a conversation early on saying, how will we handle that when it happens? So then you're not reacting, you've already planned ahead for how you're going to do that. So talk ahead of time is a great question. We've never had that one. But talk ahead of time about how are you going to handle it when it does happen eventually. And maybe step number one is just pause and think and pray individually and then pray together.
As more of you come to the microphone, I've had some questions about parking. So some of your students may have cars, and if they ordered a parking sticker, those can be picked up this next few days over here at the SSC Student Center. So they'll want to make sure they get that put on their window where they're told. The most important thing is that the white parking spots, the white lines, are where the students can park, and that's in any dorm. That's at any building, but there are blue parking spaces. Those are for faculty, staff, and for police, fire, things like that. So those are actually ticketable places to park. So if you want to get a ticket, park in the blue spot. We know that firsthand. They do show up on your bill, and you have to pay it. So it's about $50, so I would encourage you not to do that. Okay, we've got a couple of people here down in front. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. We're coming from Aberdeen, Maryland, so we're not from the area. And for our kids, my daughter, she likes to go thrifting. She likes to do all these different things. Do you guys let them know where the areas are they should go? Because there's a lot of cities around here, not too far, Springfield and all these other places. How do we advise them where they should and shouldn't go?
Well, I'll answer because my daughter loves thrifting. So, they're going to, as a student body, and this will answer a lot of questions for you, actually, they talk to each other and figure this stuff out very quickly. So as parents, if you want to do some research on that, you can, but I would lean on more letting them figure that out amongst their peers and their hallmates and their RAs, and that'll be true for a lot of topics that come up. They tend to figure these things out. And so, this location that we're in Cedarville, I will first of all assure you, is very safe. It's isolated in the cornfields, and I love that personally for myself and my kids. But yeah, there's a lot of options of places to go. And this is one of those moments of practicing, allowing them to be an adult as they explore and figure out where they're going to go and do their errands and their fun activities. But usually they're going in groups, and so they're in good shape in that way. But they will figure out. Although we lived in Cedarville for 10 years, my daughter now definitely knows the area far better than we do. And so over time, they will kind of collaborate with each other, I guess, and not just for that specific issue, but for almost everything.
Just to kind of touch on that again, there's a lot of local communities that are pretty nice communities and pretty safe communities. I'm not worried about my kids traveling in the area. There in any community there can be areas that are not so wonderful. So I think just encourage wisdom with your student. If it looks like a place that maybe they shouldn't be, they probably shouldn't be there, right? Those just common sense things. But there's a lot of good opportunity in Beaver Creek for shopping. In parts of Dayton, there's some great opportunities there as well. Some of Springfield, most of the students don't go necessarily to Springfield all the time, but there's some good things there. You're going to hear a lot about Xenia. Those are probably the big ones you're going to hear about: Beaver Creek, Dayton, Xenia. Most of those are pretty good places to be.
My question revolves around stuff either you got sent when you were a student that meant the most, or care packages that you sent to your student that, not like the common stuff that as parents we were already thought of, but just like the stuff that was like the biggest hit, that was the biggest surprise of, I can't believe sending him that thing meant the most to him, or that was the most helpful.
I mean, one practical thing is there's a Dollar General across the road, and sending those gift cards, I think you do have to buy those in cash, because I did that one time and didn't have cash on me to buy one. But that's one thing that's been the most practical, helpful thing that our kids have told us. If they need to grab a snack or run out of notebook paper or something, it's right across the road. So that's one thing that's super practical.
I remember getting a care package that was addressed to me, but I remember my mom putting in tons of stuff so that I could share it with everybody else, and that was great. And so that was something that stood out to me that I think was meaningful, is just being able to have a lot to share. Like, my mom sent this, and that meant a lot. I think there are, you mentioned it, Carrie, there are a lot of different businesses and vendors that are in the area that kind of partner with Cedarville, and you'll get emails for it. And I think it just always being thought of is just, even no matter how small it is, even just a note in the mailbox, it just feels really special. But if you send something, send a little bit more for the roommate or the people in the hall. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for your wisdom. Our guinea pig is going here. She's our oldest, so we don't know anything. Thank you very much. So my question is, forgive me if you've already addressed this, but how do you make the transition back home a little easier for them, so that they don't feel so horrible coming back to where they were born?
I'm going to repeat the rules of engagement thing again. And so this would also be a conversation to have with your student. We actually just went through this with our son like 2 days before we were coming here. He's like, hey, I'm going to pop over to my friend's house to say goodbye to a bunch of people. Well, he ended up being out until like past midnight. And we thought we were going to have this evening together as a family. So our younger kids were disappointed, we were disappointed, and I told Jason, this is a reminder to us, we're not going to say anything, and we didn't, so don't tell him if you see him, that we were disappointed. But we just thought, when he comes home on break, we need to define expectations and just have that conversation, like, hey, what does this break look like to you? What do you want it to look like? And here's some things we're hoping for, and how can we kind of schedule that? And then be ready to be flexible and be ready to be unoffendable. They are used to their independence when they come home. And so I think defining expectations is really the key to that, just talking about it ahead of time and making a plan. But I'm glad you asked the question, because it is different when they come home. And it can be rough the first time. And so be ready for that, and just be ready to roll with the punches. But give them lots of freedom, because they're used to freedom after they've been here for a semester. What have you guys found? Anything else?
Yeah, I would add that they'll also be different when they come home, right? The Word of God is going to be pumped into your student daily, and they will grow in ways you can't even imagine. And as they come home, expect them to be a little different. I really would. And when you see them at Christmas break, they will have a maturity and want to talk about the Lord in ways that they may not have wanted to before. And that's a beautiful thing. So it's not all negative when they come home. It's also some positive. But the roles have just changed a little bit. And so we're moving. You're always going to be their parent, but now you're kind of this, I'll use the word friend, and you're growing with them in Christ. And so it has a little bit of a different feel. But I remember as a student that sometimes I didn't know where I fit anymore. I didn't fit in the youth group at church. There wasn't a class at church for me. It was kind of an odd time. And so just kind of put yourself into that space that not only is it hard to be in this coming back home, but sometimes they don't know where they fit to.
This is all such great advice, thank you. And the rules of engagement is brilliant. We just experienced something similar before we came here. So I'm like, that would have helped. So my question is, of course, I'm a mom. I know that there are health services on campus, but something different if my son once again breaks out his front tooth. Is there a list? Would the Facebook page be the best place to look for emergency dentist, cosmetic? I mean, I'm just not sure where to look for dentistry.
I think if you search the CU Parents Facebook page, usually people have recommendations. So I would search first, and then if you don't get your question answered, then post. And you might be able to, just kind of search the area. We had to do that last year with our son. He broke a bone in his hand right before he came in as a freshman and had to have surgery and physical therapy. And so we looked at our insurance first and then kind of went from there, looked at ratings, looked at the Facebook page, and then kind of went from there.
Thank you.
Just a quick question about siblings at home who are experiencing loss. How do you deal with that? How do you get the student here to not be like calling them all the time or whatever? Like, what are some practical things that we could do to help best friends who are separating?
Well, if you're like our family, that separation kind of started before you got here, right? And all of a sudden, the senior in high school was spending more time out and away, maybe working a job, things like that. So some of that has been happening already. But it is odd to have an empty place at the dinner table, right? It's hard. There's an empty spot at church when you get there, right? And those are the challenge. And I think just open, honest conversation with the siblings who are left at home, and let them know that it's a good thing, that your son or daughter is in a great place. They're going to grow, and this is a wonderful opportunity for them. And then I think but also it's normal for them to miss them. It's normal for you to miss them. If you're like us, we cried half the way home to Illinois. I don't even know how I saw the road half the time. So, I mean, those are normal things. And so I just talk to them, pray with them, encourage the texting of the brother and sister. Those are all good things. And it doesn't go away either. That's the hard part. You always miss them.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's so hard to, you just lean into it. And I think for us, some of the hardest things is seeing them say goodbye to each other, and it just rips your heart right out. We have two, our second is here, and we have two at home. And with the two at home, I've just told them, this is your time to step into your leadership. Now you have to be the leader of the kids. And yeah, there's only two of them left, but they need to hear and be encouraged that this is kind of a new role. The last thing I would say too is, and I know this isn't true for all of us, and the Lord works in all of our lives in different ways, but our third son came and hugged me goodnight 2 nights ago, and he said, I feel sad. And I said, why do you feel sad, son? And he just said, because I feel like I'm just now getting closer to my brother and how he's leaving for Cedarville. And I said, guess what? I have a couple brothers that I'm closer to now at my age than I ever have been. This is not the end. Your relationship's gonna change, and you can text and you can call. They're gonna come home for breaks, but I think leaning into the pain of it and helping them to understand things are gonna be different, but it still can be so sweet. And those visits become sweeter, the calls become sweeter, and you move on. You move into a different season and into a different phase. Yeah.
So real quick to add on, so I emotionally was more prepared. Again, still sad, all those other things. What I learned from her through some wisdom was, don't be quick to tell your kids, oh, it will be okay. Oh, you're going to get used to it. Oh, you're going to grow in it. And they will, but in the moment, it often is, this really stinks, doesn't it? Will you just sit with me and give me a hug? I mean, just give them a chance to actually kind of get some of that raw emotion out there. And then eventually they can kind of clear things up and start to see that, okay, it's not all completely terrible, but they are going to be sad. You're going to be sad. And it's okay to feel that for a little while. And just admit it's for a good reason, right? You miss them because you love them so much, and that's okay.
All right, we're going to take these last two questions. We want to close just a little bit early because we know some of you have academic previews to go to. So can we start over here with you, and then we'll finish up over here?
Sure. Okay, so we live about an hour and 10 minutes south of here in Cincinnati, and our son has indicated that he wants to look for a church in, near the campus. Instead of driving back on Sundays, every Sunday. So we're very excited about him having chapel here Monday through Friday. But is there a department or anything at Cedarville that helps facilitate the students to find a home church locally?
I always get really excited about the church question, and I wanted to bring it up because Cedarville has an awesome chapel service every day. We really encourage you, as you coach your children, to help them to get involved in a local church, and there are so many great options. There are a couple that are walkable from campus here. You can walk downtown. Our daughter, for all 4 years, went to the church here in town, which was awesome. But this is another one of those areas where, as they talk to the person that lives next door or across the hall in their class, they're going to hear somebody say, oh, you can come to church with us. Some send shuttles, some just carpool together in their cars week after week. But there are a lot of really great churches in the area. And are you going to talk about the involvement?
Oh, yeah. You can go ahead and talk about that. Yeah, so this coming Friday, 1 week from tonight, next Friday night, we have the involvement fair, and we have probably 50 local churches from the area that are here. And so at all of those tables, students can find out what kinds of opportunities there are for them to serve. A lot of our churches need people to help with youth, help with children's ministry, help with Awana. There are so many ways for them to get involved. So next Friday night, I mean, they do that. It's not just table set up. There's all kinds of things going on. It's really a big party atmosphere, but our students have an opportunity to hear of a lot of different ministry opportunities they can get involved in. So we make that very clear to them, give them lots of opportunities and choices to find out about.
The best thing you said was that your child or your student said, Dad, I want to go to church up there. That's awesome, right? How cool is that your student doesn't want to just run home to go to the church that feels safe, but is looking for an opportunity to serve and grow here. That's really cool.
Go ahead.
As parents, we all have that kind of a super sense about our children, and what if we get the sense of something's going south, something's going wrong with them? First thing we want to jump in a car and drive 7 hours and grab her. But what should we do? How should we contact people? Or
so this is where I would say, kind of back to where I was talking to the coach session, right? Try to get a sense of, is this the kind of thing that needs to be addressed immediately? Is this the sort of thing that we can talk about on the weekend? Or is this something that they're starting to process, but we're really not going to be able to dig into it until we get them home on break? I think one thing I would do is early on, see if you can get their RAs or RDs information, which they might be able to get it online on the website. Okay. So again, depending on the situation, it might be as simple as just saying, hey, Mr. RA, do you mind checking in on such and such? Now again, this is where you need some wisdom, right? You don't want your kid to think that you don't trust them, you don't believe in them, and so you're trying to go ahead and fix everything for them. But there are times where you may see or feel some things that just aren't right, and you need to have some involvement to maybe make sure that there's another set of eyes on the situation to be able to address that. So I would start with the RA and the RD.
Yeah, and encourage them to go to the RA and the RD depending on, the situation. There are counseling services on campus. Also, I don't remember exactly the level of, triage and different things, but there are counseling services on campus that Cedarville provides also.
And I just throw this one last thought, and I think this is very practical, and it's probably what you would already do, but pray for them, pray with them, know the word, study the word, and give them the word. Give them truth, speak truth to your student so that they know this is, even though they may feel like this, the truth is this, because it's very easy sometimes to feel alone. So.
I'd like to recommend a resource for you all. This was written by our director of the Cove, which is our academic support center here on campus. Kim has a ton of experience with helping students make this transition into college. She's right here on campus. She's an awesome resource, but she's also written a book. This book is 99 cents for the Kindle version on Kindle and Amazon, and it takes probably 20 minutes to read it. It is excellent. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It gives you practical things to talk about, things to not talk about, conversations you should be having with your kids before, during, and after, even things like finances and academic support. It's really great. So take a quick second, take a picture of that, and go grab it on Kindle for 99 cents. I found it to be very valuable, and I've already done this before, so I recommend that. I just want to quickly address the emotional side of this, which some of these questions touched on it, but as you feel the sadness, and I really resonate with this, I was so sad when we sent our first daughter to college, much sadder than I thought I would be. I am not the crier in our relationship. That's really my husband's job. But this brought it out in me in a way that I did not expect. I thought I'd be easier the second time around. It hasn't been. The other day I was like, I think I'm good. I don't feel the emotions. I pulled into a parking spot in the grocery store, burst into tears, don't know where it came from. The emotions are normal. I want you all to know whether you're feeling super sad or not at all sad or it hasn't hit you yet or maybe it surprises you, you're not alone. This is a big thing. It's a hard thing. And you know that your kid is going to grow in their walk with the Lord, right? And learn to become more dependent on God than they've ever had to be before. But the beautiful thing that's going to happen is that will happen for you too. You will lean more into the Lord, and you will grow in your relationship with Him more than you expect, and your younger children, the siblings of the one you're dropping off. So look forward to this with anticipation of all that God is going to do in your life, in your student's life, the good and the bad and the hard. It's a growth moment, and it's something to be celebrated. And your kid will pick up on your positivity even through your tears. So it's okay to cry, but it's a wonderful thing that's happening.
That's a good word. Cedarville has added a part-time person on staff this coming semester. We don't know the name of the person yet. They're in the final stages of interviewing, but they're going to be called the Parent and Family Engagement Coordinator. We wanted to give you this resource. Pretty easy email address to remember, parents@cedarville.edu, but their phone number and email is up here. This is just a great opportunity to reach out to share some of your thoughts, questions, suggestions. So you are welcome to take that information down. We will all be here afterwards if you want to come, and if you just need a hug, we'd be glad to hug you. If you have a question, we'd be glad to ask or to answer any questions for you. And then the moms up here also love to give their email addresses. The dads care, but the moms gave their email addresses, and so you're welcome to take these down as well. If there's anything that they can do, that we all can do as families to help encourage you as you take this next step. And we'd love to just pray over you now as we close. And so let me close us in prayer. God, we are so incredibly grateful to know that you are the King of the universe. You have all things held in the palm of your hand. It is not a mistake that any person is in this room, that any student that is coming to Cedarville is going to be here for the first time, that this is part of your divine plan. Lord, I acknowledge that there will be great victories this semester. There will also be some challenges, some obstacles, emotions will come, and we rest in the fact that you are good, that you are God. You bring all of these things to work together for the lives of our kids, but also in our own hearts and lives. And so we pray that you would do a great work at Cedarville in the lives of these freshmen as they enter into this new season, as we enter a new season of letting them go. Help us, give us wisdom and discernment. Help us be wise as we do this. Lord, we pray for the hearts of every person in this room. Lord, would you comfort, would you, Lord, just refresh and help them to know that you are good, you are with them, you are with us, and we are so grateful to be called your sons and daughters. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to be together today. We pray that it would be a wonderful rest of the weekend, and we pray these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. You're dismissed. Thanks for coming.